Textual Builder Supply is pleased to present you with this recording of the technical question that is listed in the title of this video.
This call may be monitored and recorded for quality assurance.
Hey, it's me. What type of topic are you thinking of?
I'm thinking we can do like King small format interchangeable core.
I'd love that. Okay, so is there a specific angle about that, or should it just be ground zero, or what specifically about it would you want to talk about?
Probably keying them.
Well, you've keyed them, so what specific part about keying it? I just want to focus on something so that I'm not rambling, going from the very beginning of time about small format.
Keying it like into a greater system.
Well, so in every interchangeable core, not removable, every interchangeable core, there's always going to be an operating key, something that just works. But there's always going to be a key or a tool that will allow you to remove and, when it's time, to insert the core into whatever it is, whether it be a ladder pull, like with our client that's having trouble with getting a core installed in a ladder pull, or it be in a lever, or it be in a mortise or rim cylinder housing. So there's always going to be the shear line for the operating key, and then there's always going to be some means by which to get the thing in and out, and that's, in small format, an additional shear line. If you look at a small format core, you'll see the control log that's there. So that control log is going to have a value between the operating shear line and the control shear line, so that when you're combinating that core, you'll always have at least two shear lines that you have to satisfy. And the difference here is you've got a control shear line, you've got the operating shear line, which is in here, and then you've got a control shear line, which is above it. It's a certain value above it. And every small format core, whether it be Best or Falcon or Arrow or whoever makes them, a trillion different companies who make them, who clone them, you're always going to have at least two keys, because you'll always need to put the core in and out, and you always need to operate it. Now, there can be more keys that work that, like a master or a grandmaster, etc. You could also have lots of combinations of that stuff. The point of that is when you're keying it into a greater system, you have to be absolutely mindful about what fittings are already out there. So if you're going to introduce a new uncombinated core into an existing system, you have to know what all the biddings are that exist, and you have to know what the biddings are that will be introduced into the new core, so that you don't have any possibility of incidental keys, ghost keys, unintentional cross keying. You have to utterly protect against that. So someone who's doing this work takes ownership of all of the biddings in the system. Think of a college that has hundreds, if not thousands, of cores deployed. Someone's maintaining all those biddings. So because you already have two different shear lines that are going to occur, and then many other potential possibilities of a unknown key operating the core like an operating key, and then also potentially operating the control log. So that's really dangerous in the fact that somebody needs to be aware of it. I had a call with a client about a month ago, actually a national park out in Arizona ordered all that equipment, the CD517 and a combinator. And this gentleman does not understand the fundamentals of small format pinning and has inherited with very little knowledge about locksmithing an existing small format system. So we sold him a whole list of equipment, backed up by a very long conversation that I had with him, backed up by, hey, when you get this stuff and you need to get to the next step, call us and we'll walk you through the steps. But when it comes to combinating small format, it's, as you know, it's not hard, but it's tedious, because you can't disassemble the core like you can in conventional core. You can't see the shear lines. You don't know if your pin is too high or too low. And the only way that you're really testing that is when you get the control pin, the driver pin, the spring, and the cap or cover on, and put pressure on that, and then test your key. So it's a hassle That's why locksmiths charge more money for combinating small format, and they should every time, because it's like 5 times the amount of work. It just is. And in fact, I would say that it's at least 5 times the amount of work. And then also, when someone is doing this sort of pinning, you really need to use, if it's a best system, use best original blanks, use a best pin kit or the lab kit for best, because the one for other systems like Falcon and Arrow are not going to work very well, as you well know, because you've tried it, you've done it, and it didn't work so nice. You got to use all the original equipment, which is why I have pin kits for every major manufacturer. I have key machines meant for that system where it's appropriate. I don't have a Medico key cutter because I don't cut a lot of Medico, and it's been years since I ever did. But I've got a Ritan, an RY200 will cut the angle cuts of Medico, the left and right cuts along with center. And then you've got to have the right key machine for it as well, because a best combinator is like the ProLock punch, where it's punching the metal. Think of duplicating a key on the Ritan, where you've got a cutter, a circular cutter. Think about how a punch will leave a different shape to the root of the cut than a circular cutter will. All of that really matters. You've got to have the right cutter with the right sort of angle on it. So if you're cutting best and you do it, you should really, really consider investing in the original best combinator, because it's really made perfectly for that system. And introducing all of this into an existing system is fraught with danger, because a lot of guys don't have the binnings. They may have the keys, but they may not be able to understand how all of that goes together and what the ANSI standard says for inheriting an existing system. If you can't safely determine all biddings, you are, by the ANSI standard, obligated to wipe the system clean and start fresh. If you can't know absolutely the totality of an existing key system, the ANSI standard says you have 2 choices. You don't touch it, or you start fresh, because that's the only way to be sure that someone has ownership over it. It's always like that client, and I'll say his name, Jim Ganley. He was a builder that was my customer for about a decade in the 90s. In the early 2000s, he was a builder of 3-flats in Chicago, and we did a couple of dozen of them. Well, Jim was really sloppy a lot of the time, in the sense that he would hand out a key to the common door that maybe he should not have been handing out, because he just needed to get the new tenant in. Well, one time he handed a key to a person that was the master key. Well, what happened was that tenant came home that night, and he walked up 1 extra flight of stairs and opened up the 2nd floor rather than his 1st floor door. And he walked in on a Chicago police officer sitting on her couch watching television, eating dinner. And while nothing bad happened, my God, I mean, where is she not going to pull her service revolver out and start shooting? So someone takes ownership of the existing systems and the magnitude of responsibility. All you have to do is search, lawsuit for, locksmithing. And there are people at Aloha that make a lot of money being forensic experts. And that's why I took that forensic locksmithing class. They teach you how to be a forensic expert. Literally, the class is how to be qualified to sit in a courtroom and be examined by people needing to find out how this happened. So it's a big thing. So it's not to go through scare tactics, but someone needs to say the words. It's dangerous business. Only touch it if you have ownership over it. Is there something mechanical about the King that you want to talk about?
I don't necessarily think so. Why would you use small format over large format, if you would at all?
Well, that's a great question. In the world of interchangeable core, Frank Best submitted his patent for the interchangeable core in 1919. His patent was approved in 1921. Until the 1960s, when Falcon copied it and then Best sued and Falcon won the lawsuit because their variant was novel enough, it was different enough, the only game in town was Best. So why do you run into small format? It's because it's everywhere. It's been entrenched, installed for so many decades, had such a huge head start on everyone else that it's just everywhere. You know, us.mil.gov, I mean, you know how many Army bases we've shipped small format stuff to. It's everywhere. And it's not only that, but it's highly capable. The system itself is absolutely highly capable in the sense that you've got standard, you've got premium, you've got restricted and protected keys, you've got 5-pin, 6-pin, 7-pin. It's physically smaller than the others, and there's a much bigger availability of generic hardware that will work as well. So if you've got Best and you're looking for a way to reduce cost, you might look at a Core by Falcon. Like, why do we here, Terry, combinate Falcon versus Best? We choose to do that because it's a slide cover on Falcon and not be individually capped. Faster. I like it because I'm lazy. I can do it faster, and it will fit into all the Best material. So you've got a huge available base of hardware, knowledge, tools for doing the work, and there's really nothing lacking in the Best, you know, air quotes Best or small format systems that you would have to go to some other company. And that's evidenced by what? It's evidenced by Medico, Yale, I think Multilock, all of them making cores that will fit into Best housings. So that tells you something. The installed base is just epic. Why use Best? Because it's everywhere and it's great, and other people are making their stuff to go into it. So that's why. You know, that would be a reason why. You know, if you look at the Combinator service manual, you'll see the different keyways. Highly paracentric, you know what that term means. Highly paracentric keyways. You know, and sometimes the original's just, air quotes, the best. So small format was the only game in town. Schlage come out with their core. They didn't call it large format, which is what Sargent and Corbin and Yale and everyone else calls it. Schlage calls it full size because the marketing back in the 60s was, hey, do you want that small one or do you want a full size core? Full size. Schlage cannot hit the sort of theoretical key fittings that Best can hit. Best can hit serious 6-digit numbers if you go into a 7-pin system. You know, you're going to do an A4 and 7-pin. You're going to have an epic amount of possible key changes. Schlage can't touch that, not even close. Does it matter? It could. It could if you're a school district like Lee County, Florida, and you have 200 schools, and each of those schools has 170 cores. You might need a system that's really expandable. And plus, the people over at Best are really good. So is Schlage. They're all really good. Schlage's very good. Sargent, exceptional. Medico, exceptional. Yale and Corbin, I like less. It's just my personal experience. But the people at Best are pretty good. I've gotten answers from them that was like, wait a minute, we need to dig deeper on this. But so the answer is why small format? Their tech support is also very good.
Perfect. Understood.
Okay, any follow-up questions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll do a tech talk next week. Thanks for calling.
Sounds good. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Architectural Builders Supply hopes you have enjoyed this program. Please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.